Hi, welcome to Law Professor, the YouTube channel. Today we will look into the principle of stare decisis. So let's get started. Also known as the doctrine of judicial precedent, stare decisis literally means to stand by things decided. This essentially means that once a matter has been decided in a court of law, the other courts are supposed to follow the rationale adopted by such decisions in other cases. In other words, the law made by the judges is applied by themselves and their colleagues in future cases of similar nature. A precedent is generally set by a higher court for the lower courts, but can also bind the same court in its future decisions. These are its vertical and horizontal applications respectively. Let's take an example to widen our learning. The decisions made by the US State Supreme Court of California will be binding on all the courts, but within California only. This is due to the limit on their jurisdiction. Whereas a judgment of the Supreme Court of the USA will be binding on all the courts operating across the US. That's because the US Supreme Court has jurisdiction everywhere in the USA. In contrast, in an international perspective, the decisions of a US Supreme Court will not be binding on any courts of India or Pakistan or any other common law country for that matter. It is pertinent to mention here that this principle is mostly followed in countries with common law systems like the countries mentioned above. In countries with civil legal systems like Japan and France, the precedents have persuasive value but don't possess any binding character. For more on differences between common law and civil law, check out the video link in the top right corner. It is a common belief that there is a lot of discretion reserved for the courts when applying precedents. Yet, there are some requirements that need to be met. For instance, the issues being addressed in both the cases should be the same or near identical. The precedent should be set by a higher court and applied on a lower court. And the precedent should not contravene a statutory law. The precedent should not have been overruled by another precedent. These are some of the requirements. But in practice, the judges, when applying precedents, look at the individual circumstances of every case and base their decisions accordingly. The purpose of this principle is to establish consistency, uniformity, and fairness in the application of the law. It also enforces a form of judicial restraint, inhibiting judges of the lower courts from abusing discretion afforded to them by the law. It is said to increase efficiency as the courts don't have to deal with the same matters again and again. Finally, an example of a judicial precedent is the famous and rather controversial case of Roe v. Wade. This case established a woman's right to abortion in the US and has stood the test of time for the last 50 years. Brown v. Board of Education is a similar and equally controversial example. This case streamlined the legalities of desegregation process in the public schools. You can find the link to these cases in the description below. What do you think about precedents? Do you believe they are an efficient and time-saving tool to decide cases, or do they promote lethargy and copy-paste culture among judges? Let's discuss this in the comments, and I'll see you next time.